Jensen's speech today is titled Understanding Dysgraphia. Most people have never heard of dysgraphia, and I hope I'm saying it right.
How do you spell it?
Dysgraphia. Now, most people have never heard of this, but Jill knows a lot about it from life experience. Jill Jensen, Understanding Dysgraphia. Understanding Dysgraphia, Jill Jensen.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite you to come with me on a very personal journey that I've been through. I have a son who's 13 years old, and he has 2 learning disabilities. The first learning disability is ADHD, Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. And the second one is dysgraphia. So today I'd like to talk specifically about dysgraphia. First of all, what is it? Dysgraphia is the sister to dyslexia. We all have probably heard of dyslexia. It's people who have a hard time reading. Words get jumbled, mixed up, etc. Dysgraphia is the written form of dyslexia. Basically, it's a handwriting disorder. Not only in terms of being able to read someone's writing, but in terms of flipping letters, flipping words, not using spaces correctly, etc. It's also cognitive. So it's not just a matter of the mechanics. It's also processing the information into the written form. A lot of times these kids can verbally tell you stories, but they have a hard time writing them down. Well, let me take you back some time when my son was a toddler. When he was, I don't know, 2 years old or so, I had bought him a whole bunch of coloring books and crayons. And I would sit there and go, come on, let's color. And he wanted nothing to do with it. He'd pick it up, a couple things, run off. I thought, well, I'll keep trying. So I kept trying, and I would introduce him to crayons, and he didn't want to color. And I said, well, maybe he wants the big thick crayons. So I got him the big thick crayons, and that didn't work. And got him markers, bought him a dry erase board, dry erase markers, chalkboards, you name it. I even went to paint. Here we go, we're gonna pretend to paint. He didn't want this at all. He would reject it in any form. So by the time he got to kindergarten, it was time to start forming letters on paper. And he rejected it in there as well. He started to form some letters, but they were very illegible, like most kindergartners are. So how he learned his alphabet was I bought him some foam letters, and I would throw these were sponges, and I would throw them in the bath at night. What letter is that? He would grab it, an A, a B. So he learned with foam letters, and he also I had wooden letters of the alphabet and numbers, so he would learn them. He got along. He started to have problems in school. By 2nd grade, they requested he needed an IEP, which is an individual education plan for kids with learning disabilities. At that time, nobody mentioned dysgraphia to me. We'd never heard of it, but he was being treated for his ADHD. And they said, he's not paying attention in class, he's running around, and he won't write. Okay, so we tried a lot of interventions with him, and the school district worked with him, I worked with him, we did a lot of things together to try to remedy the situation. By the time he hit 6th grade, a couple of things. I will read you what it actually said in his IEP in 6th grade. He's now going to be entering 8th grade. This is what the teachers wrote. Writing continues to be very challenging for Noah. He has difficulty creating legible work and struggles to read his own writing. Noah's spelling skills are also below grade level, and he may benefit from small group instruction in this area. Noah has made minimal progress toward his written expression goals. Noah would benefit from continued support in written expression. He may also benefit from the use of more accommodations like a word processor and be provided with copies of notes. Noah continues to benefit to create legible work and should continue to work on his typing skills. He would benefit from a spell checker on a regular basis. His working visual memory for words and patterns is very weak. Okay, this is how we were going to go into 7th grade. And we went with that right into 7th grade. And of course, as you all know, when you hit middle school, the writing that they require of you increases dramatically. Now he was being asked to write essays. And again, the teachers were saying, you know, he's not doing what he's supposed to be doing in class. So they were saying there's a behavior problem here. He's got behavior problems because he's not doing his writing. And again, still not diagnosed with dysgraphia, never heard of it before. I said, well, you know, he's been struggling his whole life to write, and there's no malice in it. I told him, I said, he's not doing this on purpose. He's not lazy, he's not a bad kid. Well, yes, he's a very sweet boy, but he's still not doing what he's supposed to. Okay. So finally, after seeing multiple doctors over the years, one of his doctors said, I wonder if he has dysgraphia. I said, what do you mean? He says, well, let's test him. And they did a test on him, and sure enough, he has it. This affects handwriting, his spelling, and it also fine motor skills, like tying shoes. A little story about that. Again, when he was in 6th grade, he wanted to play football. And he'd never played football before or any sports, but he was absolutely set on playing football. Because personally, I was like, no, you know, I don't enjoy that. But he, no, I want football. I said, okay. So from this point in his life, he'd always had slip-on shoes because he didn't know how to tie his shoes. I had tried for many years to show him. His dad tried to show him, his stepdad, grandma, everybody, this is how you tie your shoes, and he couldn't get it. So he was about 12 years old, couldn't tie his shoes, and he had to wear cleats. And they didn't have slip-on cleats for football. So finally, my worst nightmare came true. He's out on the field and they're practicing, and his shoe came untied, because I would tie them before his practice. He didn't want his feet, and the shoe came untied, and his coach said, okay, now everybody stop, tie your shoes. So everybody is watching him, and he's down there trying to make loops and circles, and he's struggling, and I'm just mortified. And I thought, oh, okay, he can't tie a shoe. So finally, one of the coaches came over and tied his shoe for him, and he went on. The coach came over to me on the sidelines. He says, what's going on? And I said, he can't tie his shoes. I mean, he was really shocked. Here was a 12-year-old boy who could not tie his shoes. Again, I didn't have the diagnosis of dysgraphia, so I couldn't explain it away. I said, I've tried to teach him. He sat down. I've made him sit down and try. He just can't do it. But here's part of what I want to talk about is the shame. Some of his teachers reverted to shaming him for this condition. And I have some statistics here that I found on the internet about kids with dysgraphia. It says here, work often goes unfinished and self-esteem suffers. So we're seeing the self-esteem affecting him in school and with his peers, like in a team setting. After spending more time on assignments than their peers, these students understand the material less. Not surprisingly, belief in their ability to learn suffers. And leading adults to believe the lapse is intentional. When teachers respond by giving zeros or bad grades, it only discourages the child and does not solve the problem. So finally, I want to tell you what some of the triumphs are. He's been struggling, right up until the point that I bought him an iPad. I finally broke down. I thought, well, it might end up getting stolen or something. I mean, this is middle school. I just said, you know, I have to spend this money for his education regardless of whether it's going to get stolen or not. Here's some apps I want to show you. The first one up here is Evernote. And this he was able to start using to type up notes. If you look here, here was some notes, a writing assignment in a class. And what's nice about this is he can keep track of his notes. I've made folders for him in here. He can also he can email this directly to the teacher. Another great app besides Evernote to keep track of his things, because he has disorganization as well. I want to show you this one, this Spell Better. This is really remarkable program. This helps him. This is a word prediction program, much like texting, but it's more robust. So it says, you can put in someone's name. Okay, Noah is doing much better in school because of his iPad. I saw it there, but anyway. This has helped him tremendously. Again, you can forward this as an email and send it right to the teacher. Another great thing that I have to tell you before I finish is this thing called PDF Expert. This is very remarkable. The teacher was able to send me copies of the notes or the assignments. I was able to convert them into PDF Expert, and what you'll see here is he's able to go right in and actually type. So let's say you just wanted to type something right here. You can just go in and start typing it. You can change the color of it, of all the type. You can use it to circle things, etc. This is like a draft. The very first thing I showed him is he could write circles on his iPad right here. You just pick a highlighter, and this is on the thin highlighter, etc. So this iPad, not only for those two things, Spell Better and for PDF Expert, but he can get flashcards. He can listen to audiobooks for his books, because that helps him. He can keep track of homework and my homework. He can get on Infinite Campus right here. Campus Portal tells him what assignments are due, what's late, what he needs to do. He has a dictionary here, math help with algebra. All of these things together work to help him with his disability. And what I'd like to ask all of you today is to have more compassion. And that's really what I try to get through to the teachers, is the understanding and compassion part of this, because if they continue to give him zeros when he's trying his best, his self-esteem is suffered. He's at a high risk for dropping out of school, quite honestly, because it's such a struggle. Things like the iPad are just remarkable in helping him to get through school. Thank you. And